It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, how you guys doing this evening? I hope you guys are doing well. Doing pretty good over here. Nothing too crazy. I can't complain. It was just another Monday. Had a long holiday weekend. Wasn't really like, it was kind of mellow for me. I didn't get any calls over the weekend, but I did have to work all day Friday. So the way that we do it is we have Thanksgiving off because that was a paid holiday for us in the United States that are watching right now. This was Thanksgiving was this last Thursday. So that's a paid day off for us. And then we usually take the day off after that, but the person that's on call has to work normal time, you know? So you don't get paid overtime for Friday unless you go over your after 4 p.m. or over your 8 hours, then, you know, you get overtime. So myself and the apprentice were actually on call, and we basically worked all day Friday, but we were off by like 3 o'clock. I think we got like 7 hours in or something. And then we really didn't get any other calls over the weekend. There was a few calls that came in, but they all wanted to hold off until Monday. So, but it was a good weekend. Just hanging out around the house, just a nice long weekend, doing some video stuff, kind of working on a really special project that's coming up that I've been teasing for a long time now. So, yeah, I've been kind of doing a few things with that and picking some names, and it's been pretty cool. Pretty cool project. I'm super excited to have it come together. And yeah, that's it. I see a bunch of people in the chat right now. What's up? HVAC Time's in here. You guys, if you guys haven't already, definitely go over and check out his channel. That's Holden. And he's got a great channel. He does more commercial, chiller work, that kind of stuff, more slight heavy industrial stuff. But just click on his little name right there and subscribe to his channel. Check it out. It's got some good stuff going on. And we're supposed to have him, if we get off our butts and figure things out, we're supposed to have him on the Overtime channel here soon too. If you guys don't know and you've been living under a rock, I also do another live show with my friends on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. Just Google or just search HVAC space Overtime on YouTube and you can't miss it. Okay, it's just a bunch of us silly guys just relaxing. I do have to say, for those that are in the chat that know about the Overtime channel, it's definitely a different vibe than what we have going on this channel. Okay, this channel is somewhat politically correct, somewhat censored, somewhat relaxed. The Overtime channel is basically all that pent up stuff that I suppress on this channel comes out on that channel. Okay, lots of crazy stories, lots of me being a dumbass, drinking way too much, and same with my friends. Well, some of them, 2 of them don't drink anymore. Losers, guys. You know, come on, guys. For people, yeah, whatever. I'll pick at them on the show later, but yeah, been a pretty crazy, pretty chill week for me. The holidays are always slow. This is our slow time of year, so it's time to really pay attention when we're doing preventative maintenances, you know, opening our eyes, trying to find work to keep us going, because it's going to be slow off and on through the rest of the end of the year, and then it'll pick back up come in February as usual. So as usual, guys, if you guys have anything that you want me to cover, put it in the chat, put it in caps lock. I'll try to get to it. If you guys haven't already, please smash the like button or the thumbs up button on the channel. It definitely helps to keep the stream noticed by YouTube. I'm looking in the chat right now. Seeing anything going on in here. John Cruz says he spent the last 2 days in a fresh air over a heat wheel. Ooh, rebuilding a heat wheel. See, I've never had to do that. I've only seen minimal heat recovery wheels just on smaller like Aeon units. When I used to do some work for Applebee's a long time ago, I don't do work for them anymore, so I can mention it. I usually don't try to mention my customers' names, but yeah, I don't even think I have any of their stuff in videos. It was so long ago. You know, I get a lot of questions about where I get the music that I use for the videos. It's just like stock music from Epidemic Sound, which is a service that I pay to be able to use music that people make just for that service. And I do have to admit that sometimes some of the music does sound like other stuff, because they take a popular song and then they'll change the chords, and they'll change it to where it's like backwards. Like there's one, let me see if I can find it right now. I think it's this. Wait, let's see. Nope, not that. Ooh, that's a teaser. Ooh, yeah. That's for something else that's coming up. You know, something coming up soon. But I do have to say that for those that know what that sound means, it's not going to be like you think it is. It's totally different. Totally different. But the other one, not that one. Where's it at? That's a dog. I guess I don't have it. But there's one that I play all the time, or I used to play all the time, and it's pumped up kicks, but it's backwards, and like the chords are changed, so that way they don't get a copyright strike. So it's kind of funny how some of those Epidemic Sound people work or whatever. They just have weird music. But anyways, let's see what we got going on in here. Kevin Sullivan, I did see your super chat. I actually have it right on the top right here, and I did want to say thank you very much for that super chat. That was amazing, bud. Kevin sent a question right at the beginning, and he's curious. He said, on that call with the moisture contaminating my pump oil, could a fly-by-nighter have monkeyed with that system? And then he had a follow-up question below that. He's saying that I found no leaks, but I mentioned that the Schrader valve, sometimes that valve can cause trouble. Maybe the owner had his buddy crank some refrigerant into it, and that something else got in with it. Okay, so we can get into that right now. So one of my videos that I released this last week, actually, I think it was yesterday's video, we had a crap ton of moisture in the system. So we had a bad compressor. It was locked up. I went back out. I made a video. Was it that one? No, that's right. Never mind. Anyways, I'm thinking of another video that's being released this week. I think sometimes, because some of these videos I work on them, you know, a couple weeks in advance, and they're sitting there waiting. So there's a video coming out this week that was a 2-parter. But anyways, the moisture video. So it was a Linux package unit. It was, I believe, a 10-ton unit. We had a bad compressor. It was locked up. And when I went to go change the compressor and we went to go pull the evacuation, there was tons and tons of moisture in the vacuum pump oil. And it was like, where the heck did this come from? So when I did the autopsy on the compressor, I'd never cut open an LG compressor, so that was a challenge in itself. Then once I got it open, I saw signs of overheat situations in there and slight copper plating, but very slight. So definitely overheat going on inside that thing. It looked like there was mechanical damage caused by flooded starts or something is what I'm thinking. That particular customer does a lot of, or they don't do a lot of preventative maintenance. So, you know, we run into these issues, loose belts, all that stuff. So I don't think anybody else was working on that system. I'm pretty familiar with that customer, and I can't see them calling anybody else. And the management on site has no control. They're not allowed to call their own people that they know. It's all based on a corporate level. So corporate structures, greatly controls the people coming into that location, and I have a pretty good idea that nobody else has been inside there. I'm pretty sure of that. So no, I don't think that anybody else could have contaminated that system. I don't think it was any of my technicians because it hasn't even been installed long enough to be a problem. There was some questions about it. You know, is it possible that in the very beginning of the video when I recovered the initial charge because I thought maybe it was low, maybe that recovery cylinder had moisture in it? There's always the possibility because I did not put a micron gauge on it, but I did pull an evacuation, large diameter hoses, and I let it run for about 45 minutes while I was getting everything else ready. Okay, but I did not put a micron gauge. I did take a shortcut on that. I don't think that there was a leak in that recovery cylinder. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't think that there was moisture in it, but it is possible because that has something that has happened. And actually, one of the questions that I had got was, why would I bother weighing that cylinder and someone tried to inform me, and that's fine. I appreciate people and giving me advice and stuff, but they said there's no point in weighing the cylinder because the tear weight is stamped right on the side of the cylinder. The tear weight is the empty weight of that cylinder. Typically for that particular cylinder, it's about 17 pounds is the tear weight on average, okay? But if I knew that that was a completely empty cylinder and I vacuumed it down before I used it, why would I bother weighing it, okay? Because sometimes there can be contaminants, there can be moisture. If you have not ever opened up a recovery cylinder, I challenge you to do so. Take a recovery cylinder, make sure there's no refrigerant in it, obviously. Open the thing up, pull the valve off, and look inside of it, and you'll be surprised how dirty those cylinders are, okay? Recovery cylinders, especially when they look really old and beat down, they're notorious for being nasty inside. They really need to be gone through like an acid wash, then a decontamination, dehydration before they're shipped out, and a lot of times they aren't. When they're brand new, they typically don't do that. I have an exchange program at my local supply house, so when I go get a brand new cylinder and I take it in with refrigerant in it, they just give me another cylinder, right? That's already evacuated and pulled into a vacuum, but sometimes those cylinders can be pretty nasty inside. I have seen it, okay? And they don't get cleaned out properly. It's possible that that moisture came from there, but I don't know for sure, okay? But why would I weigh the cylinder? Well, if there's contaminants in it, that would be one way of finding out. If I see the tear weight is stamped at 17 pounds and I go to weigh the cylinder and it weighs 18 pounds, I have to start thinking, what's going on? Pick it up, shake it around. You'll hear stuff floating around in there. You'll hear moisture or something like that. That could be a way to check for issues. I've also seen where the tear weight doesn't match what the cylinder actually weighs empty. I've seen that before too. So it's always good to double check. Right, let's see what else we got going on inside here. I'm looking through the chat, seeing what I'm missing. Yeah, right on, Logan. Yeah, I try to do these, but I know a lot of people catch them at the recording after I've done them. So, man, I'm telling you guys, I really, really need to get on my AC replacement in my house because it is so ridiculously hot in my office now that I added that giant computer. You guys can't see it, but it's right on the other side of here. It's insane how hot it is in here right now. Let's see. Could the contamination in the vacuum pump oil be from a metallic sludge from compressor breakdown in some metal wear? Kevin Sullivan, no, I don't think so. It's not going to be from the wear inside the compressor. And I want to address something else too. So that was my first time cutting open an LG compressor. And I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about compressors. Okay, I know that they move refrigerant. And I've gotten pretty familiar with the Copeland compressors just by cutting them open, talking with friends, my buddy Trevor Matthews, and just kind of, reading about them. But I really don't know a whole lot about the LG compressors. Okay. So I had a real hard time when I was autopsying that compressor, cutting it open. But when I did finally get it open, it kind of made sense what they were doing there. But I saw some serious heat damage in that compressor. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, my video that I released yesterday, what was it called? Insane moisture contamination, was a failed compressor, and I autopsied the compressor at the end of the video. So when I was cutting it open, there was a few things that I kind of, was curious about. You know what? I do have to address the fact that the 98 DeVille, he said smash that thumbs up button. I really do appreciate that. And I have to address the fact that he has been a channel supporter for 19 months now. Thank you very much, bud. Okay, if you guys don't know what a channel supporter is, it's basically through YouTube. He chose to donate to the channel on a monthly level. And it's really awesome and very humbling that you have chosen to do that. Thank you so very much, the 98 DeVille. That is awesome, bud. Again, thank you so very much for that, okay? There's lots of other channel supporters and members. I know I do not do a proper job of addressing them all, and I really do want to work on that. But thank you everybody that has helped to support this channel. You guys don't have to support it financially. The easiest way to support this channel is simply watch the videos from beginning to end without skipping through anything. That's the easiest way, right? Because if you do that, then YouTube run ads, and then they give me a percentage of the ad revenue that they make, and that's the easiest way. You just have to take a little bit of your time and watch the video. And I try not to jam the videos with too many commercials, okay? But let me make it clear that I have no control over, well, I have very little control over the types of commercials they play. The only thing I can do is I can block a domain. So like if I have a specific advertiser that's driving me nuts by advertising on my channel, right? I can't pick them, but I can say, hey, I don't want this person on my channel anymore. But I have to be careful about that because I have done it in the past to certain people. Those in the chat that know who I'm talking about, you can mention it. How long did the evacuation on that Linux RTU take? It took about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do that evacuation. But you have to remember, that doesn't seem like enough time, but I was using the true blue hoses and I was using a 10 CFM vacuum pump. So we're able to get really pulling down on that thing. So, you know, when you use the proper equipment, you can get it done pretty darn quick. Okay. But I was able to see, just like I showed in the video, when the evacuation happened, you know, it was taking forever. I kept doing oil changes, and that is a cool thing about the VPX7. That's the 10 CFM field piece vacuum pump, is you can do those on the fly oil changes, and it's super easy. I love being able to see that. There's another vacuum pump, Appion. Appion makes the Tez 8 or something like that. And that one has the glass, so you can see the vacuum pump oil too. I do appreciate when you can see it, because it's very misleading on some of the other vacuum pumps, because it just gives you a little sight glass, and that sight glass is so misleading. So I like being able to actually see a large, you know, chamber with the oil in it. That way you can really, really look at it. But back to what I was saying. So when I was autopsying that compressor, there was a couple things, you know, I was curious about the magnet in the bottom. Okay. And I know that I was like, huh, what's this about? I'd never seen a magnet in the bottom of a compressor. And to be frank, I understand why. I know when people put them in oil pans to catch metal shavings and stuff like that. Laska, thank you so very much. Ooh, I will. Okay, cool. Laska said he sent me a video on some moisture that he's found in a system. Right on, Laska. Let me check it out, and I'll talk to you. Thank you very much for that super chat, but I really appreciate it. But you know, the fact that they put a magnet in the bottom of that compressor, I gotta say, is a little bit disheartening. Okay, because copper is not magnetic. Okay, so what other metallic objects would you need a magnet in the bottom of a compressor for? Let's think about that. Really, why put a magnet in there? Okay, the only metallic objects that you're going to see that are magnetic are going to be metal shavings from in the compressor, right? Am I wrong on that? Because the copper in the system, you know, if you have copper shavings or anything like that, that's not magnetic. So it's a little concerning that they actually come from the factory with a magnet in the bottom of the compressor. Don't you think so? I mean, I'm just saying. Also on the top, I was talking about, I misspoke when I was saying that there was a reed, and I didn't really misspoke, but there was a reed in the top of the compressor. Actually, there was like 4 or 6 of them, right? I believe those were discharge check valves, to be honest with you, I think is what those were. And they look like a reed. So I was more confused with what they look like. It makes sense that they're there. It's just a check valve in essence, but it's just different, the type of check valve that they were using on that compressor, okay? And the bearing surfaces in that guy were just beat down. Yeah, exactly. Will Speed said they're expecting the bearings to get eaten. That's what's tripping me out about that. Like, I mean, I'm just dumbfounded by that. That's kind of silly, you know? That really is kind of silly that they do that. Let's see what else we got going on in here. The LED lights in your field piece are nice, the chilled guy. So I'm assuming he's talking about in the vacuum pump. Yeah, you know, I have a pretty good relationship with field piece, and they're doing pretty good, you know, and they're very receptive to criticism and, you know, advice on ways to change things or ways that they can change their tools to help you. So if you guys do have advice or things that you want to talk to them about, I encourage you to reach out to them, because I really do like Field Piece. They're a great company. They're good people to work with. Reader Loy, thank you very much for that super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Oh, that is really awesome and a very, very nice comment there, Rita. Thank you so very much for that super chat. That is amazing. Okay, that's just really awesome. Let's see. Troy Belding says all motors will eat things. It's normal friction behavior. I agree that there's some potential for damage, but that's pretty crazy. But anyways, whatever. It is what it is, you know. Have I seen a fan motor plug vibrate itself off? Yeah, definitely. I've seen that a lot. In fact, on a lot of evaporator fan motors on reach-in coolers, like the little plugs and stuff like that, oftentimes we'll tape them with electrical tape because they'll fall off and then the fan motors will stop working. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat right now. Jesus said he just got the Blue On app. Jesus, I have looked at the Blue On app before. I don't think I currently have it on my phone. I did in the past. It's a nice app, and it does a good job of consolidating user manuals for everything. And I do appreciate the fact, I mean, I got to be honest with you, okay? So Blue On makes a refrigerant. It's an R22 alternative. Currently, at this moment right now, I still don't use any R22 alternatives, but I do have to say that with the way the prices are going right now, I've even had to drop my markup on it to kind of continue to deplete my stock. But it's inevitable that I'm going to have to start using some R22 alternatives. More than likely, it's going to end up being 407C, and I'm just going to do oil changes. Like, I'm just not going to play around with things. Just do an oil change, you know, use R22 on, you know, topping a system off. But, you know, when we're doing big system replacements and conversions, we're going to take the oil out of the compressor, put POE in it, use 407C. I do have to say, I know this is not their intention, but Blue On, within their app, they have specific instructions on how to convert the systems or how to manipulate the systems to be able to handle these alternative refrigerants. Sometimes they say, you know, install solenoid valves, and sometimes they say, you know, do whatever to the system, whether you're working on it, and they have specific instructions. And while they probably didn't mean this to happen, I imagine that those instructions also apply to using other alternative refrigerants. So, you know, if you guys want to use other refrigerants and you want to know how well the conversion is going to go and if there's anything you should probably do, whether or not you're going to use Blue On or another refrigerant, use their app. Check it out. See what they recommend you do. It's kind of a hack, you know, or something like that, but it is what it is. Rafael Gomez, thank you so very much for that super chat. I really appreciate it. He's asking me if you can send equipment to Field Piece for repairs. Yes, Field Piece does do repairs. They're here in Orange, California. Just Google their website. You'll find their address. Give them a call and just let them know. Oftentimes they'll do, you can take it to your local supply house and have the supply house ship it to them. Sometimes, you know, depending on how old it is, they may have you ship it to them. If you live in Southern California, you can actually just give them a call, make sure they're there, and they'll let you come in and do a drop it off. And sometimes they'll swap it for you right there if it's under warranty or something like that. So Field Piece does a great job of taking care of their tools. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. LG, life's good for us. Sucks for you. Buy another, please. That's funny, Jason Johnson. You know, hey, it is what it is. I do have to say, though, I have a lot of Lennox equipment out there with LG compressors in it. I probably only changed 2 or 3 LG compressors. I have a lot of Heatcraft condensing units for refrigeration that have LG compressors, and I mean, they work fine. Bottom line, the customer abusing their equipment in this last video is what caused that compressor to go bad, in my opinion. Okay, it's just pure neglect, right? The customer's not doing preventative maintenance. I told you guys in the video that, and I got Coke Nose mad going on right now, but I told you guys in the video that there was multiple freeze stat error codes in that Prodigy board. And that was just an indication of a loose belt consistently causing the system to have a freeze stat error. I did also have another question from someone. Let me see where it is right here. I already spoke about that one. Let me cross that off. Oh, that's a good one I want to address. I already answered that question. I have a list of questions in front of me. That way I can get going in here. So if that Lennox package unit had safety controls in it, i.e. freeze stats, low pressure controls, high pressure controls, why? And the compressor also had a thermal temperature control on the top of the head too. So that way if it overheated, it shut the compressor off. Why would we still have a compressor failure if it had all those safety controls in it? because the safety controls are just there to protect it in, you know, a one-time situation, like the belt breaks, boom, it shuts off on low pressure or it shuts off on a freeze stat. But if this consistently happens over and over and over and over again because a customer isn't doing proper preventative maintenance, then you're going to have a catastrophic failure eventually. Okay, so that is going to happen. You can't, you know, I think that in those situations, maybe the freeze stat should lock the unit out then. Because why would we have so many freeze stat errors if it didn't lock it out? I don't know. You know, on those Linux units, I will tell you that I think if it happens, like if they have 3 low pressure codes, it'll lock out permanently. But the error codes that I was seeing were just freeze stat errors. So that's an interesting one. But that probably had something to do with the low charge too, because remember it was low on charge in the very beginning, but not low enough to be completely out. And as far as the low charge goes, I had a lot of questions about that. The only leak that I found was in the that Schrader valve. I ended up changing the Schrader valve. I didn't show it on video, but I did change the Schrader valve. I actually changed the Schrader valves, plural, because whenever I change one, I just change them all. Yeah, so I did do that. So I'm hoping that was my leak, because I didn't see a leak in the evacuation. I didn't see a leak in the pressure test, so everything seemed fine. Let's get to the chat. What type of recovery machine do I recommend? Do I like the Navac brand? Tim M. I have heard very good things about the Navac equipment. I personally have not used any Navac equipment other than I have one of their small vacuum pumps, but it's not even worth reviewing because it's a little battery operated thing. So do I recommend Navac? I cannot say that I recommend them, but I have heard a lot of other people, and I'm sure people in the chat in here will tell you that they do make very good equipment. I've heard that from people. Personally, I like the field piece vacuum pumps. They have the VPX7, which is a 10 CFM pump. It's way overkill for most of the stuff you'll ever use. But interestingly enough, out of all the vacuum pumps that Field Piece makes, the VPX7 is actually the lightest vacuum pump that they sell. It's super, it's got a, it's just an amazing vacuum pump. So if it's within your budget, I would highly recommend the VPX7 vacuum pump. That would be my first choice. But again, I have nothing bad to say about the Navac equipment, okay, because I've never really used it. So Navac, I will say a little nugget that a lot of people don't know is Navac's parent company. I can't think of the name of it right now. Maybe someone in the chat will say it, but they're actually a manufacturer of most of the vacuum pumps for a lot of the major manufacturers, and they have been for many, many years. Then they decided to start selling their own line of vacuum pumps, and they started creating them. So a lot of the major vacuum pumps that are made by many manufacturers are actually made by Navac's parent company, or had been made by Navac's parent company. So they have a history of making good stuff. Yes, they did the original VP85. I did hear that Navac did design the VP85 for Field Piece. I don't think that they had anything to do with their new vacuum pump line, though, the VPX7. But anyways, I could be wrong on that. You know, I don't know a whole lot about that one. Let's see what we got. What type of recovery machine do I recommend? Oh, I'm sorry, you said recovery. I thought you said vacuum pump, but still, the same thing goes for the recovery machine, Tim M. I've heard good things about the Navac stuff, but personally, I use the Field Piece MR45 recovery machine. It's a great recovery machine, does everything I need to do. Previous to that, I used the Appion, I don't remember, what's the Appion pump called? It's not the Tez 8. I don't remember what it's called, but I used to use that. I can't think of it right now, but I used to use the Appion vacuum pump, but I switched to the Field Piece, and I'm not going back. I love the Field Piece pump. So it does great. Let's see what else we got going on in this chat right now. JP says, good evening from Ontario. Is that Ontario, California, or Ontario, Canada? Winston Wright says he changes approximately 5 to 10 LG compressors a week due to them being defective, so he's biased against LG's ability to build a compressor due to his daily poor experience with them. Wow, that's crazy, Winston. Winston, are you all commercial, or do you do resi too? So are you doing residential refrigerator compressors, or are you doing commercial like VFD or VRF compressors and stuff like that? I know LG does a lot with the VRF systems, do they not? Let's see what else we got going on in here. Right on. Anthony Marino says the Navax 7 CFM has been awesome for him. And I've heard good things. So that's great, man. I'm glad it works out good for you. It really is about what you're comfortable with. You know, some people swear by Appion. I swear by the field piece stuff, but I know there's other good stuff out there too. It's just what you're comfortable dealing with, you know? Let's see. What do we got going on in here? I'm reading through the chat right now. Hey, Joe, you made it. I know Joe was super busy at work today. I see him in here right now. Let's see. I'm reading through. Oh, G2. I had the G5 twin or G2. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that's right. Laska said. Let's see. Next year, Field Piece will be releasing the V. Oh, that's funny. All right. Let's see. Ontario, California is fake, Troy Belding said. No, it's not. Okay. Don't talk about Ontario, California. I spent lots of time at the big shopping mall in Ontario, California when I was a teenager. All right. No. That's funny. Is it true we may be going to refillable refrigerant tanks? You know, Samuel, I have heard that before. I know they do it in other countries, but logistically it's a nightmare. It's possible they might go to doing that. You know, it's hard to say though, you know, I don't know. The downside to doing refillable tanks, they were always worried about people putting other things in the tanks. So that's why they put check valves in them and stuff like that. So I don't know. Who knows, man? But I tell you what, if the hippies have their way, basically anything you can dream of is going to happen. So let's see. RSD, Allied, or United in the Inland Empire? Kevin Corona is asking. RSD, Refrigeration Supplies Distributor, Allied Refrigeration, and United Refrigeration are actually my 3 go-to supply houses. I use all of them for different reasons, and I try to support as many as possible. That way I can keep my pricing low. That way I can, you know, have good options when I need to find things, right? So I try to support all 3. If I had to say, though, I think RSD gets a little bit more of my support. Ironically, RSD is the most expensive supply house out there in my area, but they have good, clean supply houses. Nobody's been smoking in them. It doesn't smell nasty when you walk in the door. They have good organization, you know, but there's things that the other supply houses have too. United Refrigeration, I actually have to happen to have the West Coast distribution hub in my Ontario branch. So they typically have everything you could possibly need at that United Refrigeration. So it's a really good resource. It can take a while because they're super busy and they're a big store. They're a big supply house. So sometimes you might have to wait in line 5 to 10 minutes. That can be an inconvenience, but I mean, if you call ahead and put things on will call, it makes it a little bit easier. Allied Refrigeration, worked with a lot of them, their counter guys for many, many years. I grew up using one of their counter guys as my mentor, you know, and I learned a lot from him. Great supply house, good people there. Just an older supply house. And again, I do a lot of equipment purchases through them. Again, I try to support as many supply houses as possible. So we also have ARS Refrigeration. Honestly, I haven't been a customer of ARS in a long time simply because they were not in a convenient location for me. But they just moved a new location into Corona, California, which is much closer to my service area. So it's a very good possibility. I should say they've always had one in Corona, but their old location was in a horrible place to get to. So the new one's in a little bit easier, and, you know, I could probably consider myself supporting them more in the future. So we'll see. It really, I try not to be specific to one supply house though, you know. Let's see. Jason Johnson says he misses having RSD. Only one United. That's it for dedicated refrigeration supply houses. Yeah, that's a bummer. Luckily, I'm in Southern California, and we have a big market for refrigeration. So, you know, we have it all here. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Coming soon to the USA, ban on 410A refrigerant on food processing equipment. Kevin Sullivan, every refrigerant's being banned. Any refrigerant that we're using right now eventually is on the chopping block. And again, if the hippies have their way, we won't be using CO2. We won't be using propane or R290 because to process R290, it's a byproduct of oil, right? So, you know, they're trying to get away from all that stuff. So, damn, my nose is driving me nuts right now. It's just dry air is killing it. In my recent video, when I was working on the AC that had the moisture contamination problems, a few people were asking about when I was charging the refrigerant, And one guy specifically was like, hey, why are you charging that as a vapor? I was not charging 410A as a vapor, okay? You always want to charge 410A as a liquid. I pretty much do every refrigerant as a liquid, even R22. I occasionally will still deal with R12. I do everything as a liquid, okay? It's just easier that way. But people may mistakenly think I'm charging as a vapor, maybe because I was using a recovery cylinder. And something that I have to point out is that if you're working with recovery cylinders, doesn't matter what weight they are, just because they have a red and blue handle on them doesn't mean jack squat. I have two recovery cylinders sitting right next to each other. One has a blue handle that says vapor. One has a blue handle that says liquid. One has a red handle that says vapor. One has a red handle that says liquid. It changes from every cylinder, so you can never trust the colors. Always look at what's labeled on there, okay? So I always charge every refrigerant as a liquid. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Someone says it's not dry air. No, it's actually my nose that's itching. It's not the inside, so it's not... I mean, I guess it could be allergies, but it's dry skin, crap like that. ARS, isn't that the white shirt sales company? Oh, Jason Johnson. Yeah, ARS, there's a service company called ARS, but then there's also a supply house called American Refrigeration Supply. They used to be CRS, and I believe that was California Refrigeration Supply, and then they merged with ARS, and they became one supply house under the ARS name, but they are American Refrigeration Supply. They are separate from the sales company ARS, which, yes, they are a white shirt sales company. Let's see. Have I seen a walk-in evaporator violently vibrating? Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you do when motors go bad and stuff. Let's see. David Vargas is saying he just did a job at Ontario Mills and he's on his way home now. I used to do work for Ontario Mills. David, you might have even been working for, because I know we're not going to mention names, David, but the company that you work for, I don't know if you still do it, but for a while you were doing work for a restaurant at that particular mall. And I used to do work for that restaurant many, many years ago. But again, I'm not going to mention names, but I know David. I know of David. We've talked online and stuff, and he lives local to me. Let's see. Let's see. When your nose itches like that, you take your antihistamine, and within a half an hour, you stop rubbing. That's a good point, Troy. Maybe I need to do that. Yeah. It's a long hair inside the nose needing clipping. That's the truth, man. I don't know about you guys, but my wife's always trying to get me to pluck my eyebrows. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I have like one eyebrow that grows really long, and she always wants to pluck it. I'm like, get the hell out of here, man. I don't pluck stuff. You just trim it. I ain't into that pulling hair out your face stuff. Come on. All right. We have lost a lot of ARS supply here in Southeast Virginia. Oh, really? Yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, exactly. Let's see who I'm missing in here right now. Look at that. My buddy Trevor Matthews is in here, man. Right on, man. Refrigeration Mentor. Trevor's got a cool thing going on. If you guys haven't already seen it, go over to his website. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to look it up right now. I'm pretty sure it's refrigerationmentor.com. I'm going to look it up. Make sure that I'm going to plug his website right. I know it's Refrigeration Mentor on YouTube, and let me make sure that that is his website address too. Come on. What is your website, Trevor? I'll make sure I get it right. But anyways, yeah, go to Refrigeration Mentor on YouTube for sure. Check Trevor's stuff out. He's doing great over there. So Trevor and I, and to my issues, I've been trying to work with Trevor on a video, and it has nothing to do with him. I've just been super busy and haven't been able to deal with stuff. And then it sucks because there was a day that Trevor and I scheduled everything. I got up early and my dang webcam wasn't working right. And yeah, it's just a whole thing. But we're going to be working on something very soon. So let's see what else we got going on in here. What is up? What is up? What am I reaching? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Nathaniel Hedge. That's a good question, man, because, you know, the way that my business is operating right now, I run a small refrigeration company here in Southern California that deals with restaurants. In 5 years, I hope to have a few more employees. I hope to be able to spend more time making videos and training technicians. See, where I see myself is in a perfect world, I'd like to operate my business. To be honest with you, I'd like to hire someone to run my business like a general manager in a perfect world, right? I want to be a training manager. I want to go out and start training service technicians, be the guy that's training apprentices. That way I can build them up and get my company where I want it as far as the service goes. So in 5 years, in a perfect world, I see myself, you know, having a few other technicians working for me, working my way towards hiring a general manager to run the company for me, and then being able to just go out and run service and do calls and not have to worry about a lot of the drama that comes along with running a business. That's where I'd like to see myself in 5 years. I'd like to see myself doing a little more consulting, helping people, kind of like what Trevor's doing in a different way, but, you know, being able to help people to train technicians to be big picture minded, you know, to look at everything. I would like to do that a little bit more. So that would be something that the consulting would be something I want to do too, but I don't ever want to be a salesman, none of that stuff. So, see what we got. Reading through the chat right now. Kevin Sullivan says, nose itch, refridge herpes. Wash your hands before you take a leak or it gets up in your... That's pretty funny, bud. All right. So, on my moisture video, the one where I had massive contamination in that LG compressor, one of the commenters had said, because I told him that the compressor was under warranty, and he said, hey, because I mentioned in the video that in a perfect world, I wanted to go back out there and change the dryers again and then do an oil test, maybe even do an oil change on the existing compressor. And a commenter said, if I wanted to do all that stuff, shouldn't I have warrantied all that and done it under warranty? And no, because I didn't sell them the equipment. I was just honoring Lennox, the manufacturer's 5-year warranty on their compressor. I charged the customer for my labor and all the materials that I use minus the compressor. So it's not my workmanship that's being warranted. It was just a 5-year compressor replacement. And to be honest with you, and to be fair, being that compressor was, you know, exploded inside, that was kind of the customer's fault for not doing proper preventative maintenance. So let's see what else we got going on in here. Find a GM and hike the Pacific Crest Trail. That would be a dream of mine, Couch Potato. I have always dreamt of hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. It's just, I wish... That is one of the biggest regrets that I have. I would never want to change anything about my family, never want to change anything about my life or anything like that. But I wish that when I was 17, 18 years old, that I would have saved up money and hiked the Pacific Crest Trail before I had a family and all that good stuff. In fact, my wife probably could have done it with me because we were dating at the time. Yeah, I want to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, and I'd love to hike the Appalachian Trail too. I am a backpacker at heart. I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things, being out in the middle of nowhere, getting lost and trying to figure your way out of it. It's just amazing. Just being out of touch with everything. I love it. Let's see. In 10 years, you want to retire. Yeah, that'd be a good one too. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Do you have to send a super chat to get me to answer? No, Docs. You just have to put your question in caps lock, bud. Sometimes it's hard for me to see questions, so put it in caps lock and I'll try to get to it, bud. You got to understand that I like the chat is scrolling by, right? It's scrolling by, so I don't go back up to try to review every question. So if I miss your question, just keep reposting it until myself or one of the moderators sees it or tells you to stop. Okay, but put it in caps lock. Don't lie. I wanted to be a park ranger and still do. Yeah, Alaska. I mean, that's, you know, being a park ranger for sure too. That would have gone right along with being out in the middle of nowhere. For sure. Let's see. All right. Yeah, Trevor, you ever take a trip to California? Hit me up, bud. We'll figure something out for sure. So I answered that question. Let's go ahead and get to another one. I already answered that question. Let's talk about, go through my... Okay, so in the previous week, too, I wanted to address some comments because if you guys don't already know, I am posting a little bit more. It's actually pretty convenient. I was trying to avoid the whole TikTok thing for a while, but I decided to go ahead and jump in head first, and I'm doing the Facebook Reels, and I'm doing the all these different things, right? And at first, I didn't understand these short videos, but I'm actually starting to like them because I don't have to edit them. I don't have to do anything crazy, and I can post little clips, whether they be funny, whether they be educational. So on all social media platforms, you can find me at HVACR videos. So I have a TikTok HVACR videos, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all HVACR videos. And I'm posting more and more of the short clips on there too. Last week, I posted a short clip on TikTok showing one of my vans getting towed away. My apprentice was with me and his van all of a sudden had no oil pressure. Thank goodness it was just a sensor like we were all hoping. There was not a major catastrophic failure. There was no internal damage to the engine. It was just a sensor. So we had to have his van towed. It was out of precaution. I was pretty confident there was nothing wrong with the oil pump, but just out of caution, I had it towed to the dealership. They looked it over. They had it fixed in a day, and the van's back up and running. So that's something that worked out okay in my favor because that van has a lot of miles. So I was worried it was that time. Let's see. Today I posted a little short clip on all the social media platforms about a nasty reach in cooler, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. So yeah, we do work on reach in coolers, and they can be dirty inside. Okay. Did I call the health department? No. Did I grab the management right away? Yes. And the management was very receptive. You have to understand something. Okay. First and foremost, these restaurants aren't cleaning their refrigerators enough. Okay. Bottom line, that's just what's happening. But there's more to it, okay? And I'm not making excuses for them not doing this kind of stuff. I'm just telling you the what's going on. These restaurants are so short-staffed. They have managers that have only been managers for a week running the restaurants, okay? They have very minimal training. The staff doesn't have very good training. It's frustrating right now. This is a crazy time for restaurants, okay? So in that particular region, there was like black liquid all inside there, and I was like, what the heck is this, right? What I actually figured out was they make pizzas from that region. And my apprentice was with me, and he's like, well, they keep the pizza ingredients in here, right? And he goes, I bet you that's olive juice. And that's what it was. It was black olive juice. And they keep it in the drawers, on the top drawer. And what happens is they fill it up, and when they slam the drawer, the liquid comes out. And the failure, I did not make a video on this, but the failure on that box was actually because of a bad evaporator fan motor that was all corroded and rusted out from that olive juice splashing on the motor. So again, the black was actually just olive juice, but bottom line, that reach-in needed to be cleaned out, and the management did do it after I was done. But what's happening is management doesn't have time, you know, they don't have the staff to go through and check if the cooks are doing their jobs properly. The cooks are told that they need to clean these things out, and the management just doesn't have the time to go in there and verify that they're actually doing it. So a lot of the restaurants are working on this, but bottom line, they didn't clean it out. You know, it is what it is. And the management knows, you know, when I grabbed them and showed them, they're like, oh my gosh. And they were taking pictures, and they were sending it off to the corporate office and all these different people just to let them know, you know, that they're going to get on it. Because and we do have a lot of people are asking me about health inspections and that kind of stuff. We do have health inspectors here in the United States, but even the health departments are short staffed. They don't have enough staff to go through. It's very rare that I see restaurants getting shut down anymore. They just don't even have the staff to make it into half these restaurants to do their routine safety inspections. So it's just a massive failure all the way across. Whatever reasons, you can call it political, you can call it economic. It's nuts. Okay. But bottom line, it's just a mess. And yeah, these restaurants do need to do a better job of maintaining their equipment, but it's a difficult task. It's not as easy as people make it seem to be. In a perfect world, they don't open the restaurants unless they have the staff, but they're a corporation that needs to make money. It's just a big fight that they have to do. Okay. So let's see what else we got going on in here. What up, Sean Michael? How you doing, bud? Say, I'm looking for a question right now. Someone was asking me about a question. Docs, I'm seeing right now, but I'm looking. I don't see your question here, but I'm not going back up in the chat. So I'm looking for your question right now. You need to post it in caps lock. Go copy and paste it and post it again. Okay. James Vanderberg, I just talked about the dirty equipment right now. So, let me see what else we got going on in here. I'm looking, when I look through these questions, I'm looking for caps lock. Okay. Let's see. Needle nose pliers versus nose hairs in a mirror. No, I don't pull nose hairs, dude. I stick one of those horrible things up that cuts them and then makes you cry. Let's see. What kind of tools do I carry in my daily carry tool bag? Your bag is getting so darn heavy, damn heavy. Currently right now, my daily carry is the Vito roller bag, the tech pack backpack thing with wheels on it. One of these days I'm going to get back to the video reviews and stuff. I have the bag a little bit loaded too much. It's kind of hard to say my daily carry, but I carry quite a bit in my bag. So I'll have to do a video on that and show what everything is inside that bag. Let's see. Reading through here right now. I'm reading through, looking for questions in caps lock. So, hello to everybody that's in there. Dwayne Doxley, how you doing, bud? Let's see. Trying to read. Olive juice sucks, stinks up the hands for days, and gets really, really hard when cooled down. Yes, it does. So, I'm reading through these right now, trying to make sure. If you guys have questions, you want to put them in caps lock, okay? Docs wants to know what to use to defrost when you can't use water or a flame. Docs, thank you for helping him out there, Troy. If you can't use water or heat, well, I prefer you not use a flame at all. But if you can't use water, I mean, you can just do off cycle, but that's it, man. You got to shut. Taking an off-cycle defrost to try to defrost an evaporator is just a serious waste of time. You need to get water in there, and you need to defrost it very carefully without getting water on the floor. I mean, it's inevitable. That's what you need to do. You can shut it off. You can modify the system. I don't know if it's a freezer or a cooler. You can modify it to where the fans just run temporarily to try to cool it off. But in the meantime, your product temperature is going to come up. If you use water and get in there, turn it off, and melt the water, your product temperature, you'll have it back on and running in 45 minutes, and your product temperature barely gets affected. So you do 95% of all service calls out of the MB3 blag. Very rarely have to get other tools. That's interesting, Jason. Yeah, I have such an eclectic mix of things that I'm working on that I pretty much carry that Vito roller bag with me and just roll it on into the job site. And then on the rare occasion that I need to go onto the roof with it, I'll throw the backpack straps on, climb up the ladder. There's some things that I don't like about the Vito roller bag, but there's some things I really do like too. So do I recommend the JobLink probes for new techs? Definitely, Caleb. You know, in a perfect world, we learn how to do things on compound gauges, non-digital. But to be honest with you, there's so much you're missing by not using digital these days. So yeah, I'm going to recommend the JobLink probes, but I also recommend carrying a manifold gauge set at the same time. I use the S-Man 480V, the Fieldpiece digital manifold, and I use the JobLink probes, and I switch back and forth depending on what I'm going to be doing, and I love them both. If you guys don't already know and you want to help support the channel, if you go to truetechtools.com and you purchase any of the tools that I'm talking about, you can use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word, to save 8% on your order. And you can also shoot me an email. I'll generate an affiliate link, and I get a little bit more of a commission when you do that, okay? But to be clear, when you do ask me for an offer code, I do get a commission from that, but you get a discount. They give me a very small commission with it. So if you want to help the channel out, hit me up or use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word. Right on. Aurelia, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Nico. Thank you for watching the videos. That's really awesome. Can I explain the different freeze patterns on evaporators for walk-ins? It's not so much that every freeze pattern means something. Like, it's more or less just being observant at how it's freezing up. And then that way, when you're defrosting it, you can kind of think. It's hard for me to explain, but I can tell you by looking at an evaporator that it's been icing up for a long time and it's been trying to self-defrost and thawing, because you can tell by the way the ice is really thick and solid frozen ice that looks like it's smooth. That's because it's been defrosting, then refreezing, then defrosting, then refreezing. But you can also tell that, you know, a defrost heater is bad, or, you know, it's pretty common that if you don't see an iced up coil from top to bottom, left to right, all the way through, or at least top to bottom, left to right, and it's like just the top half or just the bottom half, it's a very good possibility that you're going to have a refrigerant related issue that led to that icing issue, whether it be a restriction, a metering device issue, things like that. But it's not a guarantee. So it's not really that I want you to study, you know, different frost patterns that teach you everything. It's that I want you to be observant and think about it. Don't just de-ice something willy-nilly and just move on. You know, things ice up for a reason, right? The customer's complaining because there's icicles all over the roof and there's frost everywhere. Well, if it's a freezer, maybe we have a limit problem, right? A defrost termination switch that's turning the fans on too fast, or not defrosting or not terminating defrost fast enough. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can lead to freeze up issues. So the most important thing is the want to know why things happen, right? You need to dig into things and be like, why did this freeze up? Because things don't just happen that way, okay? So you dig into it and you start evaluating things. I'm going to tell you a story. Today I had a service call. I didn't make a video on this, but I had a service call on a Delfield refrigerator. It's a remote system that has 2 evaporator coils. It's a 6-drawer unit, and they're like, it's freezing all the food. So I went out there and I'm looking at it, and I just put new coils in this like a month ago, 2 new evaporator coils. So they're like, it's freezing the food, and they go, they think it had a bad temperature controller. And then they're like, we had a power outage over the weekend. We think that was it. And I'm like looking at it going, no, I don't think that. I mean, but it's all things I'm listening to. I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm not letting it affect my diagnosis. So I'm watching this thing and I'm checking temperatures. I'm making sure both coils are working. I'm making sure the temperature controller is turning it on and off. It is. And The only conclusion I can come up to, again, by investigating and just staring at it, was they were complaining, again, talking to multiple managers, because one manager said the whole box is freezing. And then I talked to the main manager, the guy that actually runs the kitchen, and he's like, no, it wasn't the whole box. It was just the left side of the box that was freezing. And it's like, okay, I got an idea now. And I'm thinking in my head, they were closed for Thanksgiving. There was nobody in the restaurant. And the temperature controller for that 6-drawer unit is on the opposite side from where it was freezing the food. So my idea, and again, I didn't close this out, but my idea that happened is that when they left the day before Thanksgiving, the night that I think they left that drawer open just slightly, okay, which does happen at these restaurants because all these drawers need to be rebuilt. And that's where the temperature controller's at, right? And if that happened, the warm air would come in and turn the box on and make it run consistently, right? And it has a constant cut-in control, okay? So it's not necessarily going to ice up, but it's going to consistently run and run and run. And the far left of the box, which is not where the temperature controller at, is where everything was freezing, and they keep lettuce and high moisture content things. So it's more about thinking of things and watching and observing and coming to a conclusion of where you think. Now, I have an assumption that that's what's going to happen. That's what happened, but I actually didn't tell the manager that today because this particular restaurant is one that's going to question, oh, we don't leave drawers open. That's immediately going to be their answer. So I'm just observing, right? And I'm going to make some adjustments. I made sure the temperature controller was set right, and I'm going to go back in a couple days and check on it again, okay? But it's not so much always knowing what's wrong. It's wanting to know what's wrong and being observant that's going to lead you to that path, right? Listening to what the managers are saying, listening to what the cooks are saying, but also just keeping that in the part of your mind and not just running with what they think. You know, you just got it sitting right there. And then you're making your own diagnosis and you're thinking, okay, could a power outage have affected? No, there's not a power outage isn't going to cause this to freeze the food. You know, there's nothing there. Okay, maybe a solenoid valve sticking, right? I was talking to my apprentice, but think logically. Both evaporators have a solenoid valve and only one has a temperature controller. And, you know, are both sticking? You know, I don't know. You know, so it's really about wanting to figure the problem out and not just being the tech that goes in there and says, I don't know what's going on and leaves, you know. Take ownership of it, right? Hold the manager by the hand and say, I'm going to figure this out, but it's going to take me a couple visits. Okay. So that's my advice about finding ice up coils or how to diagnose frost patterns and stuff, is more or less just being observant. Experience is going to teach you that when it ices up this way, it leads to these things. Okay. And of course, sometimes I try to show things in my videos to try to help out a little bit. So let's see what else. Get the big picture. That's right. Coffee or orange juice? I drink coffee in the morning, orange juice every once in a while, but orange juice is kind of acidic. Ironically, coffee is acidic too, but orange juice kind of hits me a little bit harder. So I drink about 2.5 cups of coffee in the morning with a little bit of almond milk in it is what I do. Let's see. Johnny Salty says in his area, Delfields have the drawers open all the time. That's true because they're not self-closing drawers for the most part. So let's see. Just read all the letters and you should say it correctly. Oh, okay. IRILIA. Oh, okay. Anyways, so let's see what else we got going on here. What is the actual purpose of and when should you use the gas ballast on your vacuum pump? You were taught just to pull everything through the oil. Okay, there's some crazy technical explanations about the gas ballast, but I'm going to give you the dumbed down version. The dumbed down version is that your systems contain moisture in them, right? The initial pull down of the vacuum, you're trying to keep that moisture out of the vacuum pump oil, okay? So when you turn your vacuum pump on, have the gas ballast open for the initial pull down until you get down to about 1500 microns, a little bit lower, something like that. Then close the gas ballast and it's going to start pulling through the vacuum pump oil. So by using the gas ballast, what you're doing is saving the vacuum pump oil from contamination, okay? But when you get severe contamination, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's the dumbed down version of what a gas ballast does. Go to any one of the vacuum pump manufacturers and they'll explain it in a more technical terms that have all kinds of engineering speak and different things like that. But that's my understanding of them. Let's see. You like to add a time clock wired through the liquid line solenoid valve, solves all the stupid human actions. That's a good point. Sometimes you have to do that kind of stuff on some of these reach-ins. I try to keep them OEM as much as possible. And the reason why, you know, I get this one. This isn't a question today, but I'll address it right now. I try to use OEM parts 99% of the time. Okay. Here's why. When you use OEM parts, typically you take the guesswork out of it. People don't have to think to change a part. When you go and get aftermarket parts, it takes thought process, right? Let's say you're using aftermarket constant cut-in control, or maybe it's not a constant cut-in control and you just use a air sensing temperature controller. Well, there's ramifications to that, right? If you have a constant cut-in coil sensing temperature controller, it's self-defrosting. So if you change that control with an air sensing control, you now lose your defrost ability. And yes, I know you can add a KE2 or a control that has defrost built in, a Dixel or whatever. But it's more or less taking the thought process out of it, because when you have other people going to service this equipment, maybe they don't have the capabilities of thinking through all these crazy things. So if I hand them a part and say, go install this, this is bad, and then verify it works after, it's easier than having them field fabricate something and then maybe it doesn't meet OEM requirements or UL requirements or different things like that. So I try to stay OEM as much as possible just to make it easier for my service techs to be able to service equipment behind me. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, let's see what else we got going on here. Reading through the chat. Blue-On. Talk about Blue-On. It's garbage, isn't it? Trailmaster. I've never used Blue-On. They make a pretty cool app, but I've never used the refrigerant. I've heard the refrigerant is expensive, but honestly, I've never tried to buy it either. So I don't know. I have nothing bad to say about them because I've never used their product. Okay. I'm sure in fact, I can pretty much guarantee you they're working on a new refrigerant, right? Because, they're putting a lot of money into their app and their tech support stuff to make themselves stay relevant. So I'm sure they're working on new alternative refrigerants to replace 410 and different stuff like that. So again, I have nothing bad to say about them. In the very beginning of Blue-On, they had some marketing people that I didn't care for so much, and I actually had some issues with the way they were trying to market their stuff on my videos, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. Let's see what else we got going on here. What was the most iced up reach-in coil? That's kind of a subjective question. I really don't have an answer for that one. I've worked on a lot of iced up reach-ins, but no stories to tell about it. All the letters but is one word. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so I apologize. Are you going to do the Colty HVACR compound thing or what? David asks. Okay, so my buddy Bill called me this morning, or Bill and I were talking, and we were joking because Bill was asking me about hiring off of Facebook, because I've talked about, you know, putting it out there that I was hiring in the past, and actually my current apprentice was off of a social media post, so it works. But me and Bill and I were joking, and Bill said, you know what, he was jokingly saying that Adam, Joe, myself, and him should all move to one place and open up a super company. And then we could all Adam and Joe can do high-end residential, and then Bill and I can do commercial stuff, right? And so then we were just kind of joking about turning it into a compound, and then it led to, I didn't even know he was going to post that on social media, and that made me laugh so hard. Even my wife called me, what is this guy thinking, you know? But yeah, Bill posted on the HVAC Overtime Facebook group. If you guys aren't part of it, definitely join it. It's a cool group to be in. But Bill posted that we're going to start a cult basically and share everything and dress in the same clothes. And it is just hilarious. It's very funny. Due to all the jugs going gray, are they now gray on? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I see where you're going with that one, Jason Johnson. Okay, I see it. I got you. Have I gotten a service call on Christmas Eve or day? Yes, I have. In the past, I've had to do it. I've worked in the last 2 years. I've worked on Christmas Eve, and then in the past, when I used to do work for, I don't do work for them anymore, so I can say it. I used to do work for El Torito Mexican restaurants, and they were open on Christmas, and they had like a big Christmas buffet. So I've had to go into El Torito's. I haven't worked for them for 15 years, but I've had to go into El Torito's and work on their stuff in the past too. So, yep. Yeah, please everybody smash the like button. It definitely helps out the stream. Let's see, Troy Belding. If it ends up a compound, to have to move to Texas for the proper armory. That is very true. That is very true. So, all right. Well, guys, it's time for me to wrap this one up a little bit early. I am hungry. My nose is itching like crazy, and I need to go eat some dinner. So we're definitely going to do it. So I really, really appreciate all the super chats. You guys are amazing. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have merch available, hats, beanies, sweaters. I'm wearing one of the white shirts right now. You know, we've got it all. So check it out. TrueTechTools.com if you guys are interested in purchasing any tools. Help to support the channel any way you guys can, okay? I really appreciate you. We're going to cue up the outro music, and I will catch you guys on the next one if I can do this right. And I'm not doing it right, and now I am, so... Yo, look at this guy. This guy's huge. This guy is getting so big, man. He's like 20-something pounds now. And he wants to eat the microphone and eat everybody. What up, guys? Yes. Yeah. Oh, don't fall. And he smells like a wet dog right now. I don't know why. But I'm going to go ahead and cue up the intro or outro music again. We will catch you guys on the next one.